Here's the show that loves to talk about gadgets and gizmos, from A-Logic to Yamaha, cameras to control panels. You get what I mean. We love talking all things techie. In fact, that's the name of the show. And here is your host, Justin Dawson.
ISE 2024. We're here sort of in spirit. I have to introduce my guests. Okay, first of all the podcasts for All Things Techie are sponsored by X2O Media and BZB Gear. X2O Media were super last night at the Skyfall bar, but better introduce my guest. Erin, say hello and tell us where you're from.
Hello, I'm Erin Marmoran. I'm from Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States.
Wow, yeah, and part of HETMA as well. I've just dragged people into studio this week. Erin, this is your first time at ISE.
It is. This has been incredible. I've done Infocom many times, but this is just a whole other level.
Yes. So you know, is this your first time in Europe?
Actually, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been to Australia, Caribbean, Canada, lots of outside of the States, but just have never made it quite across the pond in this direction.
In this direction. Well, how are you finding ISE? You've been over for a few days. You arrived on Monday.
Yeah, Monday morning. So yeah, it's been excellent. I definitely look forward to when the show is officially closed, because then I can actually kind of explore more on my own.
Exactly. It's so important. I usually come over, and even the times I've done ISE in Amsterdam, I've never experienced Amsterdam properly. One of these days, actually next year, I'm hoping to go over to IBC in the Rye, which, you know, I can tell you for a fact, and everyone says it, the Rye is like a Tetris block. You don't know where you are going. I'm hoping that IBC is not as big as what ISE outgrown to come here to the Fira, because it was crazy. It's you look at a map and you go, I'm in hall 5, I need to get to hall 2, but the hall beside me is hall 8. How did that happen?
That's a bit much.
Yeah, but as we were saying, X2O Media Party last night. Did you enjoy yourselves?
I did.
Cocktail bar.
I kind of wished that we had gotten there early.
Yeah.
I should say. But yeah, it was a good time. The minute we got through the doors, it was
29 floors up over Barcelona City. It was quite cool.
Yeah, just the scene, the music, it was fantastic.
So what are you looking forward to seeing the most here at ISE? Have you been brain fogged completely in the amount of halls and where to go?
Yeah, so I do like the organization of the halls, so it at least kind of gives me a general topic and brain space to be in, so that's most of the display manufacturers are kind of along this row.
And do you know what? That's improved through the years that I've seen. This is my 4th ISE. It has improved that. At some stages in the past, I was like, this booth doesn't fit. It shouldn't be in this hall. I don't know. Does that happen as much in Infocom?
Yeah, I kind of feel like they try to somewhat keep it organized, but it seems like there have been definitely times where I'm like, why are these booths near each other?
Yes,
do
you know what? My example yesterday, and we got the video up last night. I know some of these podcasts will be late, because we're relying on the sound technician behind us to give us the files, and the video technician, really cool camera as well in this booth. But I posted a video last night. I don't know, did you notice? At 2 a.m. I was still editing video.
Oh my goodness.
I know, my wife's going to kill me when she hears that. 2 a.m. I was editing video, and somehow or other 500 people watched that video at 2 a.m. So it must be the American audience that are having complete and utter FOMO of missing out at ISE.
Right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Come over to ISE. But then I fell asleep for 2 hours and then woke up 2 hours later, and just go, this is the busy day at ISE. This Wednesday is the peak of ISE. It's only 10 a.m. here at the moment. I don't know why I decided to do breakfast show podcasts. But but yesterday I walked around Hall 3, which is just LED wall central, and I'm sure you've seen LG followed by Epson, followed by Samsung. The wall.
Yeah, that was one of the things that even when we were walking through early, it was pretty stunning. Like it just like you can.
But it's just that junction,
Yeah.
Like you see
like
Epson with the umbrella. Then you see Panasonic with the movable tiles, and then you see Samsung, the wall, and it's like I don't know which way to turn.
Yeah, it is a bit of a sensory overload.
It is in that room.
If you're neurospicy, like this is like it's a lot to take in.
So, are you on the lookout for anything for your university?
I think we've been sort of establishing a standard to try to simplify everything. And that's kind of what I think I'm mostly looking for is how do we make things easier in the classroom for the instructors so that they want to record their content and they want to but they want to focus on teaching.
Yes.
So it needs to be easy.
Yes.
And it just, it for whatever reason, it seems easy to us. Like those who are immersed in technology often, I'm like, yeah, that's totally easy. All you have to do is boop, 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 boop. But we kind of want to get a little closer to one button system, essentially.
Yeah. And it's so hard to do that. And it depends. Like, are you a Tron house? You are a restaurant house. Yeah, I know. I know I'm mentioning names, but it's sometimes to get a good programmer to do. Well, you are a programmer.
You are. I am a programmer. Yeah. It's certainly it can be challenging, especially when they want to keep everything so flexible. And I'm like, but with the flexibility, you kind of lose certain things in different areas. And if we were purely BYOD, it would be a whole different story. But then we have to have there's a lot of faculty who want the podium PC. And through the different generations of our classrooms, you could kind of see like where the mindset of the current registrar was, because we have a bunch of rooms that were like PCs in the podium, and then we have this generation of BYOD rooms because they changed their mind. They were like, oh, we don't want.
So is your university a BYOD, or is it a mix of half and half?
It's a blend, because now we're back to the mindset of all the classrooms should have a PC in them, and it's kind of a back and forth battle.
And this is the problem. Like I know from at home, we give all our faculty laptops, but they would have a guest lecturer in, and they're like, "Oh, have you a spare laptop?" And I was like, "No, bring your laptop, or have you gone down the push in your university of going, no, if a guest comes in, the guest should have their own laptop if it's a BYOD."
Essentially, yeah, and then it becomes difficult too, because we have not standardized on a laptop for our faculty. So we have faculty that will bring in Mac. They'll have their Apple machines. They'll have all sorts of flavors and levels of PC. So there are some instructors that still have VGA only.
You are kidding me.
Yeah,
how old is that
rare.
laptop?
It is rare. I'm not even sure how they're able to update it enough to keep it on our network, because you have to have above a certain Windows version for the network working team to allow your laptop on the network.
So are you telling me that around John Hopkins there is some VGA cables still in existence dug into your processors?
There
confirm or deny?
Is very few spaces that we pulled them out, and even then it was kind of like how many years past the analog sunset are we? Like, why are we still doing this? But they were just like, but we need it. So now we're just like,
we're like two fish bowled in a pond here. As Dr. Joe Way has decided that he's going to try and gate crash our party here.
Because of course Joe can't not be.
I just noticed just how loud the music is outside. We weren't having this problem yesterday, so apologies, listeners and viewers. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of like struck me a little bit while we were
with the immersive sound
started. I was like,
hence why we are live at ISE for the All Things TechIE podcast, brought to you by X2O Media and BZB Gear. But you know, with that in mind, and what you were saying about like BYOD and your classrooms and your programmer as well, is there times where it's really difficult to say to your faculty and get their overarching opinion, like going, it's not a one size fits all for an environment. You have to hear what solutions is on offer, and I'm talking from experience of having that type of programming once upon a time in our clinical skills labs, and just going, our integrator saying, oh, but this is what we're doing in the classroom, and we're like, well, that's not what fits in our labs.
Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult in trying to decide on a standard of sorts, because we have our faculty teach in such different ways that one of the biggest things, I'm part of the classroom advisory committee, and so there's deans and faculty members on the committee, as well as representatives from networking in the registrar's office, and it's kind of like trying to. We can't give everybody everything they want.
No.
And the like when the question comes up of like customer service and this and that, and the customer's always right, and we're like, well, yes, but so we have to, we kind of have to use like very much a utilitarian mindset.
Yeah.
Because we have to do like the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. And so currently, a lot of our faculty still, their main complaint about classrooms is there's not enough chalk.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, not enough chalk, not enough whiteboard markers. Like, which I'm like, really? We're at this point.
I'm just surprised you still have chalkboards in some of your. I think across our university, the only ones that have chalkboards, and it's one of those rotating.
Oh yeah.
Chalkboards that it's usually for like science and mathematics that like they are writing big formulas on the walls.
Yeah.
But like. I think talking about chalk and markers, I think it was funny that like we were joking on Monday when we came in the day before ISE began, when there was no carpet down or anything, and we were looking at the transparent LEDs, and we joked that like, imagine having this in a university, how quickly will someone write on the transparent LEDs?
Yeah. It
like happens all the time.
It amazes me that certain things that you wouldn't think that anyone would think that it was a writing surface, but you'll walk in and be like, oh crap, where's the goo gone or whatever, to try to like clean that off, or simple green. We had rear projection. We have one room that's rear projection,
and they will always write on the projection screen that has rear projection.
Yeah,
always.
We ended up when we ended up replacing the screens, which was such a pain. And it drives me crazy, because then anybody who knows about AV and stuff, they look at that but we installed them backward, so that it wasn't the matte surface.
Okay.
Because it's so much easier to remove, but there's then a glare.
Yeah, glare
and a reflection, and so the people who know are like, oh, what is that? But we're like, yeah, we did it on purpose, unfortunately, and it drives me crazy to see it. But I'm like, that's the only way we can easily remove the marker from it. Even though we have signs that say this is not a writing surface.
Yeah, it's not a writing surface, and yet still someone will write "okay" on on the bottom of it. You know.
Yeah.
Do you find that in America, like I have these conversations all the time with Joe for Across the Ponds podcast, and do you find that, you know, is standards kept to AV standards in your university, like, or, you know, do you have to always have a fight back with your integrators? Like, there's so many standards that America has, and I think are more regimental than what we have over in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we tend to have an issue with, you know, we try to do all of our design in-house, and then farm out for materials and labor, and then we a lot of times we'll do programming configuration and commissioning ourselves at the end, you know, so that we have a hand in the front and the end. But then there's some projects that come through our facilities and real estate department, and so when they hire the architect, a lot of times the consultant and all of the AV stuff is bundled, and that's where I feel like we end up losing a lot of the say. And even though we've given them our standards doc and clearly state, like, in our scope of work and standards that, like, we get the programming, like, deliverable, like, that is a non-negotiable, in that in the programming there should be no password protected modules.
Yes.
And just little things like that, but they're just like, no. And then it becomes like a, all right, well, we're not signing off on this.
Yeah. You know, and that's the
put
key.
that in my hand.
You know, like, I think during COVID there was a couple of incidents where, you know, integrators get paid before they actually did the install. Did that happen to you?
So yeah, usually it's a materials and a certain percentage that they'll get up front, and then the final, like, they won't get the full amount. But yeah, I feel like just like during COVID, when, like, our campus was shut down, we did have a couple of projects that ended up happening, and yeah, I feel like they were prematurely signed off on by, like, not my team. It was kind of more the procurement team that was like, well, we handled this, so paid. And I was like, no.
Yes, don't do that. Don't make that mistake.
Yeah, because then it makes it a lot harder to then go back to them and be like, but you didn't really fully deliver on what we were asking for.
We were having a conversation before ISE about the whole idea of staff even being able to work from home versus hybrid versus being on campus.
Yeah.
How's your university for the work from home model, or are you allowed work from home?
So it depends on the department.
Okay.
Essentially, there have been a couple of stages where each department was asked, like, can you work from home? Like, do you have the ability? Obviously, facilities people, their job is physically on that campus, not so much. And then there's teams like IT and my team where there are some things that can be done remotely. But so, you know, we definitely moved to a very hybrid situation for a lot of the LAN admins and stuff like that. But basically, my team also does not only classrooms, but event support. And so obviously, like, we've got to be there. But it was kind of like the university in general was kind of like, we're going to leave that up to kind of the individuals to figure out, like, what's going to work best. But then each phase, they're like, but could you come back? And so it's a fine balance, because there's a lot of people who moved.
And I have a feeling that this is going to affect university budgets when you try and create hybrid rooms and they're like, well, we have everyone back on campus, we have the students back on campus. We're
Yeah.
not going to spend the money.
Well, yeah, and that was I think for us it wasn't so much hybrid learning because they want the students to be there, but they also understand that now there's become an expectation that the content is going to be available offline or like asynchronous. So we're not as focused on doing like synchronous learning and two-way communication via collaborative tools. It's more about the lecture capture at this point. So it's like at least all those cameras we put in and microphones and stuff, not going to waste.
Yes.
But it's just a different it's a different way of teaching.
Yeah, it is. It is a different way of teaching, and I still believe that there's room for both.
Yeah.
But it's also getting the buy-in from the end user and the faculty.
Yeah, absolutely. It's they
they
really need to put in the work to change their pedagogy and how they do everything.
And on that pedagogy approach, should that be the responsibility of us as the techs?
Right.
Yeah, that's the question. Is it there's examples of where we are in the School of Nursing, and it's that's nice equipment you put in, Justin, but it's not simulation. It's I never said it was simulation. I'm not a nurse, a director of nursing simulation. I'm not a doctor. Yes, Joe, I did say that. I'm not a doctor. Internal joke. But it's, I'm not in the medical field. I'm an AV technician. You tell me what you want to do and I'll put in the functionality of that. So that's where, having a good GUI, no matter whether you're using Creston or you're using Wolf Vision, I think it's so important, of having the good GUI, that it's user-friendly, but, you can bring them to the water. You can't make them drink it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The user interface is such an important part of the user experience in a classroom. But at the same time, we can only go so far.
Yes.
They have to take that extra step to learn the tools, create their own workflow that works for them. And I'll admit, some of it has been a struggle, because they're this doesn't work. And it's well, it does. It just doesn't.
You're not using it properly. We don't want to say that out loud, but you're not using it properly.
Right, because you can't tell a faculty that.
Especially when you have, and I've had it in even my old university that I worked with, that you have such a blend of the person that still wants to use the chalkboard.
Yeah.
And you're trying to teach them this is a hybrid but and there's some great companies, one sponsoring this podcast, that is creating the environment where it's not as difficult if you are doing a hybrid teaching, and that is a skill. That is really a skill. How can you make sure that everyone is attentive physically in the room and remotely, and making that blended mix?
Yeah, I think it's really, it does take a certain kind of person to be able to blend that far side and in person together, because I feel like usually it's one or the other, and somebody's going to be neglected. But to be able to be attentive to the in-person folks, but also not make the remote participants feel like they're just sitting there
are we being left out? And and between that, it's not just the hardware, it's good software to be able to do that. And whether it be gaming inside of a lesson and not death by PowerPoint, that's the most important thing.
Oh gosh, I feel like gamification in education is going to become even more important, and faculty are going to need to embrace that, I think, more, because the students that are coming up, that is what they know and what they're used to, and they're going to have to change with the times.
Yes. Yeah,
It's hard moving that needle.
It is. You know, when you talk about universities that's still using VGA and analog and chalkboards to move away from this whole image, you know.
Because we had talked about all these absolutely gorgeous displays, and I'm like, it's almost a way. It's like I admire the pretty, but at the same time,
Aaron's gone there.
I know it's not going to. I'm not going to really be able to put them into use in most cases, especially a classroom, because we still need the wall real estate for chalkboards or whiteboards. So we can't take up valuable wall real estate by putting a display there. So we have to use a projector and a screen so that it's flexible and that it's there if the faculty need it, and then it's not if they don't.
Yeah, and that even goes down to monitors on walls, whether you want to have a projector or monitor, you know, like, you know.
Yeah, like a monitor is a lot of times, it's a no-go right from the get-go because we just can't afford that space to be taken up on the wall.
Yeah. Is there any booths that you're really looking forward to going around, or, you know, thinking outside the box, even?
Right. There.
I always find that Congress Square, along that stretch, there's always some really nice startups that always attract your attention, even if it's as simple as like, oh wow, you made an adapter for this? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I always love to check the perimeter. Yes. Because there's always those little one-off spaces that you're corner. Like, I didn't know I needed this, but I want it.
Yesterday, we were talking about this last night. Did you see the mermaid? I'm telling you guys, there's a mermaid. You know, we weren't hallucinating yesterday after happy hour. There is a mermaid in a tank behind us. I don't know what it's all about.
Oh, yeah, I have not seen that, but I'm like, now I'm super intrigued.
We're in hall 4F500, I think it is, in just beside the Avixa booth. Just behind us, I think it's called Cat 3, and they have a woman that's going in and out of a fully immersed water tank up on a crane. And then underneath, there was people with VR headsets on. I don't know what it's about. I want to find out today what it's about. So watch this space. We will be telling you about that.
Right.
Today is a long day for us. We had a long day yesterday, but today is an especially long day because, you know, it's the peak of ISE. And at the peak of ISE, there's parties and there's happy hours.
Absolutely. Yeah, I kind of am like, I need to make sure that I have time to look at the tech because there have been so many things that I'm like, oh, record a podcast here, attend a session there. There's so many great opportunities to, you know, hear from other professionals that have so many great things to say, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I need to actually check booths out and see what's happening.
And now, I asked the question, like, is there anything you would like to see on a university level? Anything you like to see on a personal level and go, oh, I love to have one of them?
Right. I think a lot of I do want to just kind of check out some of the more like immersive experience type things. Like I'm very lately, you know, buzzword AI.
Yes, it is the buzzword of ISE. We've gone there. Yeah.
Right, but so I'm kind of obsessed with data science now, and because you know, I know that AI, it's not really artificial intelligence. It's more good programming, machine learning.
Yes.
But
Joe's going to listen to this afterwards and go, no, it's not, but it is.
Yeah,
it is.
And
sorry, Joe.
And so, like, the use of the like data science to create art, and then AV provides such like the perfect medium to deliver that. And I love like these applications of these immersive type spaces with the all the edge blending and projector mapping.
I'm more with you on that. I think this is the way, like, you have your VR and you have your immersed experiences. Like, for the past few years, Igloo has been doing their Igloo Dome. But, you know, I with the broadcasting hat on, I love the fact that more and more of these TV type of studios are doing these walls behind. Actually, I have that. It's going right off higher ed and going into this realm. Weather reports in America. Do you have people standing still in front of green screens, or are they LED walls, for example? Because in Ireland, you always see the halo effect. Like, it's like you are, you know, it's like, and then why has no producer ever like told you that dress does not work with the green screen?
Oh gosh, right?
It does happen in America. It does.
It does. It's I feel like it's becoming less and less. But yeah, it's funny that there are certain, you know, I think stations that maybe do it better than others, and but yeah, every once in a while it'll be like, oh,
yeah,
that's,
but like I think with that whole immersive experience where they have the camera coming from left to right and the background is changing, that's the way weather reports should be done. It's like, look, here's a live view of what's happening outside. It's raining, it's sunny, you know,
right? Instead
of the old graphic, which I'm gonna call it's probably even earlier than this, the 1980s type of graphic where you know here's the arrows pointing down, and you know, and here's a cloud.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
we've gone further than that,
and it's such a skill, I feel like, for them, where they're like not pointing at anything.
Yes. They're looking at the camera over there and going, over there, oh, up there. No, you know, that's not where Dublin is. It's down here. Yeah, it is a skill, but
yeah, because I'm always like, if I'm on a podcast or something that has somewhat of a ticker or like a name thing,
I always
I'm
point
like,
in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
somewhere down there.
Never fails. Yes. Always the wrong direction. Even if I'm looking at a monitor and I see where it should be, I'm like, nope.
That way, yeah.
This corner, nope, next.
Yeah. And that
never fails.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy those type of immersive experiences too. But like, you know, only about 3 or 4 months ago, before Christmas, I actually started buying into VR. Does your university do any VR?
Not at least not as much on my campus, but they're starting to a lot more. And I think now. That's one of the things that I also am pretty much is interested in is applying it in different ways. Mm-hmm. And so it's like I think the more that it becomes more of a thing. Sorry, English is escaping.
No,
today. But I think that more and more applications will be,
and that's the key thing.
Of.
The applications, you know, like, you know, I've even back 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago now, going to Amsterdam and seeing VR. You know, they put me on a platform, and it's like going down. The visuals of going down an escalator, and I'm going to blow air on your face and everything. It's like, that's great. Now, how are you going to get that to fit into my university scenario?
Because you're like, there's a novelty factor to it. But then at the same time, you're like, why are we spending all of this money that could go to something else for just this novelty factor? I feel like the medical field has done probably a better job than most in finding really good applications for that sort of technology. My niece has a lazy eye.
Okay.
And part of her therapy is
the VR. Okay.
And there, I have not experienced it, but from what I understand, like, it's, to her, it's kind of like a game because she's looking at certain
the dot
things.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm like, that is amazing. Like, that is such a great use of that technology.
Yes.
And it's like, well, if only we could do that.
And
then for everything.
And then the whole idea, and this may be my ignorance of, like, you're going to crash into people if you put on a VR headset. Right. And then we have a room where it's like we are standing on a mat and it knows that like your headset will switch off if you walk off that mat. You don't have to be. And then I see, was it Disney recently made a floor that is constantly moving to give you the effect while you're in VR. So you're standing on a mat, but the floor is moving, so it knows you can play your game, or you can pretend you're walking, but you're never walking off the mat.
That's cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. We'll review that on the All Things TechIE podcast at some other stage. Yeah, we're doing a show together in a different booth on Friday.
That we are.
Yes, let's plug that.
Super excited to. I am the host of AV Nation's EdTech podcast, and so I managed to get a spot at the AV On Air Midwich booth.
We're stealing a mug. We are stealing a mug, Chris. I'm telling you right now. Sorry. Yes, got to.
Yeah. So, it's pretty much going to be a lot like this. I think we're gonna do a lot of chat and just see like.
And it's Friday, and we're going to fall asleep on those couches in the booth.
Yeah, it's gonna be super cozy and
fireside chat. Yeah.
Take a nap.
Yeah.
Take a nap.
Looking forward to doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Erin, thank you for joining us on the All Things TechIE podcast, brought to you by BZB Gear and X2O Media. These episodes, even though recorded live, you will see them afterwards when we get the files. They're big files because we're using a big SLR camera here. The music is starting. It sort of like makes it a nice like music bed outro. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to All Things TechIE Podcast, part of the Extreme Media Network. Follow us on Twitter at AV Tech Junkies. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch our show on YouTube by visiting youtube.com/@Justin_or_Dawson. Previous episodes of our show can be found on our official site, www.allthingstech.ie. For advertising and sponsorship opportunities, please visit www.extrememedia.ie.